Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday, Thursday. I hope this finds you safe and well. Well, what a week it's been. Backwards and forwards about the new EU CLP hazard classes. I've updated the infographics yet again. I've really got to apologise to all my faithful readers and watchers. It turns out we'd updated, or I had updated draft versions and not the correct version. So that's now been corrected, and I'm putting a link to the finally updated, hopefully, infographics below this video now. Now, I hope they're useful because it is going to take a while for all this to bed in. There's a phase-in period. It's not like it's coming into effect absolutely immediately. And interestingly, because of this split between the Delegated Act and the Legislative Act, and what's been updated is the Delegated Act, which affects the annexes to CLP, in order to make this fully legal in the EU, we've got to have an update to the articles in CLP, and that's got to go through the Legislative Act, and it has to be checked and signed off. There has to be a vote on it before that can go through. So technically, although the annexes have changed, they're not actually valid until the Legislative Act bit goes through. So it's in this kind of limbo situation at the moment, very unusual. And I think it shows the stupidity, madness, insert word of your choice here, of having two different ways of updating CLP, because this is not going to be the last time this kind of two-pronged change happens, in my view. So hopefully, by the time the Legislative Act's gone through it, that's going to go through in time for everything becoming legal at the same time. That sounds a bit rubbish, but you know what I mean. It's like, you've got annexes updated, you've got the articles updated, and hopefully there will be a point at which they're both in force and we can go, yeah, right, okay, that's really effectively the starting point. Yeah, doesn't make life simple for people in the EU or selling into the EU. And of course, one of the other big questions is, well, what's going to happen in the UK? Now, brilliant news on this, thanks to our friends at CHCS. They had spotted back in February that there was a parliamentary written answer saying basically, we're participating in the process at the GHS committee at the UN, and we are not going to bring these in unless they're brought in at UN level first. So these new EU hazard classes are not going to be updated wholesale into UK law unless they're first of all adopted by the UN, brought into GHS, and then finally adopted in the UK. Now, at the earliest, you could imagine that it might be another year or two at the UN, assuming it goes through, which we can't assume because a lot of people are very, very unhappy with the endocrine disruptors. I mean, what's the point? What is the point of having endocrine disruption as a separate hazard class for practical classifiers? What we need to know is, does it poison you? Does it have an effect, like a specific target organ toxicity effect or an environmental effect? That's what matters. Endocrine disruption, in my view, is like a step too far. It's like going, oh, you have to tell us the root, the mechanism or mechanisms of what's going on. No, we've never had that before. So you can imagine that there's a lot of countries at the UN who are going to be a bit unhappy about that. It's almost kind of double classifying or forcing industry to go into specifics that don't matter in terms of protecting people, because after all, protecting people, protecting the environment, that's what GHS and CLP should all be about. How can we protect people from the impacts of hazardous chemicals in a simple and easy and what's the word I'm looking for, and robust way as possible? We're not toxicologists, we're chemists trying to do the job as best we can. And endocrine disruptor as a concept, I'm sorry, it just doesn't really fly. Anyway, leaving all that on one side, UK not bringing these hazard classes in yet, unless or until they are brought in at GHS level. So I hope that that's helpful for companies in the UK. Of course, if you're exporting into the EU, you're still going to have to comply with them. But like I said at the start, there is a long phase-in period. and it's not, strictly speaking, fully legal yet, not until the Legislative Act goes through. Whew. Well, after all that nonsense, you may be thinking, reasons to be cheerful. Yes, we've got another one from the sketch show, and it's called Imaginary Friends. And I like to think that this is kind of how things go in the EU at times, because frankly, with their ideas of some of these new hazard classes, they don't have many friends left. Right, let me just see if I can find the link. Oops, hang on. Yeah, there we go. Can't talk and type at the same time. Anyway, that's it from me for today. Whatever you're doing today, I hope you have a lovely day. Have a lovely Easter bank holiday weekend. Take care of yourselves, and I hope to be able to chat to you again on next week. Obviously, our office is closed on Friday and Monday for the bank holidays, but apart from that, I will be around. Have a great time.